I was coming from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and these charges showed up from a Sears in Las Vegas. What's up guys, it's Sean back here with another video, and I've got a story for you today because guess what? My credit card, this credit card right here, got scammed. So today I'm going to talk about how I think my credit card got scammed and tips and tricks for you guys to hopefully make it so that this won't happen to you. So here's how the story goes. The other day I was at work sitting at my desk working away, and then all of a sudden my phone went off, and I have notifications set up to alert me whenever things get charged to my credit card. And an interesting charge came up, which was $1,300 for a Shell gas station. Now, I was a little confused about this. I called my wife. I was like, hey, did you purchase anything from Shell? And she said, no. I was like, do we have any recurring payments that maybe I'm forgetting about? Like, is this like, we don't have Shell car insurance or something like that, do we? She's like, no. So after making sure, I opened up a chat with Capital One. The person was very helpful. They looked into the transaction for me and said, yeah, this transaction was done in Daytona, Florida. And I was like, oh, Daytona, Florida. Well, I'm here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I can't think of any company that I use that's even in Florida. So that's when I started to say, okay, something's wrong here. They gave me the phone number to call to report fraud. So when I got home, I phoned the number. I got a person on the other line from Capital One again. I explained the situation to them, and they said, okay, we're gonna count this as fraud, we're gonna launch an investigation, and so began the story. So just in case this ever happens to you, hopefully it doesn't, but just in case it does, here's basically what the credit card company will do. They're going to take the amount that you are claiming as fraud, and they're gonna launch an investigation to see where the charge came from. Then they're gonna freeze that amount. So they froze $1,300 and took it away from the spending limit on my credit card. So if your spending limit was $10,000, you'd now be at $8,700. That amount gets frozen until the investigation is completed, and they actually refund you the money for the time being in the next 2 business days. So that's what they did for me. So I was like, great. They said, okay, now we're gonna send you a new card, and you'll get that in the mail in the next 5 to 10 business days. So as luck would have it, this is actually the second time I have had fraud on my credit card. And I knew from last time that it actually only took them 2 or 3 days to get me the card. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm good for 2 or 3 days. I'll use my debit card, no big deal. Even my wife has a card on the same Capital One account, and we can still use her card. So it's all good. The only hiccup in this whole process is that card didn't show up in 1 week, it didn't show up in 2 weeks. I actually had to call them before I went on a trip and say, hey, where's my card? And then Capital One mailed the card to me the next day. So that was the only kind of hiccup in this whole process. And then I just kind of had to sit and wait. And the other day, I got this letter. All it basically says is, the fraud investigation is completed, will be closed. They confirmed it wasn't me, so here's my proof that I'm no longer under investigation. Now, it's kind of interesting because the last time this happened to me, I was coming back from a trip in the States, and I noticed a few different transactions on my card that were for a few hundred bucks. I was coming from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and these charges showed up from a Sears in Las Vegas. So right away, they knew something was wrong and they went in, and same process happened, and we got it sorted out. Now, that one, I had a little bit more information about how Capital One thinks my card got scammed. It's something called card skimming. Now, I should point out, this has probably happened to me twice in the last decade. My card has insurance on it that's zero liability, just for situations like this. So I wouldn't panic, but I would go and check your credit cards to make sure that you have this feature. Now, all of them pretty much do these days because credit cards stand to lose a lot of money if people are too scared to use their credit cards online. So most likely this isn't a big deal on the card that you have, but it doesn't hurt to check. Anyway, back to the story. So as I said, the first time I have a little bit more information. The person who closed the investigation called me and said, it looks like your card got skimmed at a local gas station or convenience store. And I was like, okay, so I'm not gonna mention what convenience store it was, just because, you know, I don't want to get sued. But they did confirm that they think it's card skimming. And what that is when someone takes your card, runs it through the machine, and the machine is somehow rigged up to read your card and they can take down your PIN, or maybe they watch for your PIN. They might even look to see if they can get the 3-digit code on the back of your card as well. So some tips on preventing your card from getting skimmed. So something to keep an eye out for. If the teller is taking your card and swiping it and then saying the card isn't swiping properly, your card isn't working here, something's wrong with your card. That second swipe might be them trying to get the reading off of your card. So that's the first one. Second one is, no matter what, keep your one hand over your other hand as you're putting in your PIN. I've heard sometimes they mount cameras up above you so that they can watch your fingers, and they put the two together to get your PIN code as well. So now they'll have your credit card and your PIN. Of course, keep an eye on your card at all times. Don't let the clerk take it and put it behind the register or something like that. Like, make sure you can see it at all times. Of course, the best thing to do is just use tap anytime that you can, because you know the card's always in your possession. That's a really good way to prevent this. And the last but not least, and I think this is what happened to me, is if the clerk takes your card and is like, oh, this is a pretty cool card. What kind of card is it? That right there is him flipping the card around to get the 3-digit code. I think that's maybe what happened, but it's just so natural that sometimes these guys are like magicians. You don't even sleight of hand, you don't even know what they're doing until it's too late. So I hope those pieces of info help you. I also went online and tried to find some other tips and tricks for you guys. So here's 4 more. So number 1 is an obvious one. Keep cards in a safe place. Protect your passwords, protect your PIN, don't lend your card out to people, and that's pretty much a given. Second is, when you're shopping online, use trusted payment sources such as PayPal, or MasterCard has a service called MasterPass, I think. Visa has something similar. Use a secure payment method so that you're confident that it's being tracked, there's a reference number, you can resolve issues if they come up, but typically these are very, very secure. Third tip is something I do personally, and this might vary from person to person, but I don't like sending my credit card information over email to people. I like to give it over the phone, and I only give it in phone calls that I initiate. So if someone phones me up trying to sell me something and then ask for my credit card, or even if they pose to be my phone company and say that they need something, I wouldn't do that. What I typically do is I think, okay, did I make this phone call? Did I phone the phone company to get something resolved? And then if I did, then I'd say, okay, then I trust these folks, I'll give them my credit card number over the phone. I just don't feel like putting it in my email is a very safe place, just in case something or someone gets into my email account. But that's just me. Big tip there though is only give it, if you have to, over the phone on calls that you've initiated. Last and final tip, and this is the one that saved me on the last one, it prevented me from getting more charges charged to my card. Set up alerts on your phone for charges that come to your credit card so that you're able to notice really weird things when they pop up. So that's the biggest tip here. That's what saved me. And that's even what the credit card company suggested to me when they said, hey, if you want to prevent this from happening again, one of the best ways to set up notifications. And I was like, cool, already there. Thanks very much. So anyway, at the end of the day, investigation was closed. I just got my letter, so that means that that $1,300 of spending limit is now back on my credit card, all is well. But I hope this experience and this video helps you guys out. If your card gets scammed, or if you have any more questions about the whole process or what happened to me, let me know in the comments. But hopefully these tips help you guys out so you're not in a situation like that. Tune in next time, because I'm going to do one more book review. This one's about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as requested by one of the comments on a previous book review video. I'm really excited to review this book. It's one of the first kind of finance books I've read. It's pretty epic. So tune in next time for that one. Till then, this is Sean. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.